And we're going to do verses 36 and 37. Then we're going to go to Luke 13, 25 through 28. Luke chapter 13, verses 25 through 28. And then we're going to go after that to Luke chapter 15, 11 through 16. And if you're not able to get to all of these, that is okay. I do read them out of the King James Version. So if that's the Bible you have, I'm reading it exactly how you have it. And if you want a list of these verses for after church, to look them back up, because I don't know about anybody else, but sometimes I just like to be able to read it myself. Then we're going to go to Galatians 6 and 7. And then we're going to be in Revelations 5 and 8. And Revelation 6 and 17. Would anyone like a list of these? Would you like a list, Joanna?
Yeah, forget it. I can't flip that fast.
That's okay. Would anyone else like a list? Mom would like a list. Dear, can you take this to Mom, please? Thank you. I appreciate it. Would anyone else like a list of the scriptures? Later? Okay.
You could post them on the church Facebook wall.
Oh.
You could just do that, and it would.
I'm the only one in here with the Facebook. Nobody else has.
False.
Okay, huge.
False.
Okay, there's 3 of us.
Half of us. Anyway.
I'm done listening. So we're going to start with Matthew 24, 36 and 37. If you're able to stand for the reading of the word, that's great. But if not, the Lord understands. Matthew 24, verses 36 and 7. But of that day and hour knoweth no man, no, not the angels of heaven, but my Father only. But as the days of Noah, which is Noah, were, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. Now we're going to flip over to Luke. Luke chapter 13, verse 25 through 28. Luke chapter 13, 25 through 28. When once the master of the house is risen up, and hath shut to the door, and ye begin to stand without, and to knock at the door, saying, Lord, Lord, open unto us. And he shall answer and say unto you, I know you not whence ye are. Then shall ye begin to say, We have eaten and drunk in thy presence, and thou hast taught in our streets. But he shall say, I tell you, I know you not whence ye are. Depart from me, all ye workers of iniquity. There shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth, when ye shall see Abraham and Isaac and Jacob and all the prophets in the kingdom of God, and you yourselves thrust out. Now we're going to turn to Luke 15, 11 through 6. Luke 15, 11 through 6. And he said, a certain man had 2 sons. And the younger of them said to his father, Father, give me the portion of goods that falleth to me. And he divided unto them his living. And not many days after, the younger son gathered all together and took his journey into a far country, and there wasted his substance with riotous living. And when he had spent all, there arose a mighty famine in that land, and he began to be in want. And he went and joined himself to a citizen of that country, and he sent him into his fields to feed swine. And he would fain have filled his belly with the husks that the swine did eat, and no man gave unto him. Galatians 6 and 7. Galatians chapter 6, verse 7. Be not deceived. God is not mocked. For whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. Revelations 5 and 8. Revelations chapter 5 and verse 8. And when he had taken the book, the 4 beasts and 24 elders fell down before the Lamb, having every one of them harps and golden vials full of odors, which are the prayers of the saints. And then flip over to Revelation 6 and 17. When I was looking at these verses last night, the way my other Bible is, I didn't notice that chapter 5 ended and chapter 6 started. So I thought this was 5 and 17, but it's actually 6 and 17, but they go together so well. For the great day of his wrath is come. For the great day of his wrath is come. Not shall come, not will come, is come. And who shall be able to stand? You may be seated. It's all fun and games till somebody gets hurt. Maybe your mother or your grandmother said that to you, your dad or grandpa. It's all fun and games till somebody gets hurt.
All right.
We'd be playing with something we had no business playing with. Doing something we had no business doing. Had probably been told 30 times not to do it. And then one of us would get hurt. And we'd just come crying. I can remember Grandma had, it wasn't an accordion door, but it was a folding door to her bathroom. It would fold open and then you could pull it shut. And we would play with it and she'd say, don't play on that door, your fingers are going to get caught. Lo and behold, Grandma knew what she was talking about. Somebody's fingers would get caught in that door and she'd go, I told you, but you wouldn't listen. As I got older, my friends and I, and it became a popular saying, I don't think we came up with it, we just adopted it. It's all fun and games till somebody gets hurt, then it's hilarious. And that was our way of trying to make good out of a bad situation. That was our way, if you'll pardon the expression, thumbing our nose at this really good sage advice. That was our way of saying, we're indestructible. Nothing can get to us. I mean, we're 18, 19, 20, 21 years old. We know everything. We're going to be this age forever, and there's nothing that can get to us. And I'm here to tell you that that's a lie from hell.
Amen.
It's all fun and games until somebody gets hurt. It is probably some of the most true words that have ever been spoken into my life. I'm surprised it's not in Solomon's Proverbs. And I'm sure it's in there just said differently. We don't want to think about the consequences of our actions. We don't want to think about what's going to happen later on. And I don't mean to be crass, so please forgive me. But there's a song, it's an old country song that says, in that song it says, the devil may take tomorrow, but just help me get through tonight. Just help me get through the night. It won't woman singing that song is not thinking about what's going to happen tomorrow when the sun comes up. She's not thinking about the consequences of her actions. She's just thinking about the here and now. And she's singing to her would-be lover, let's not worry about what's going to happen later. Just help me get through the night. That's where this idea in the 60s of free love came from. Because, marriage, that's for old fuddy-duddies. That's just the man trying to keep you down. You should be able to be with whoever you want to be with as many times as you want to be with them. I'm sure there's no correlation between the free love of the 60s and 70s and the AIDS epidemic that hit in the 80s. I'm sure those are completely unrelated. Because everything has a consequence.
Right.
Everything has a price tag. Everything is going to cost you something.
Amen.
But we don't want to think about that. Eve didn't want to think about the repercussions of eating that fruit. It was good. It looked good. It looked good to eat. And her new best friend, the serpent, said it was fine, so how could that be wrong? Eve didn't want to think about what God had said, that you're going to die if you eat it.
Right.
Because here's the thing. Did Eve drop dead that second? No. She didn't. But did you know that the minute you are born, you start to die?
Right.
The minute you are born, you start to die. So the minute Eve ate that apple, she began to die because she had stepped out of the will of God. I know this isn't a popular Sunday morning message. I'm supposed to be preaching something that gets us all fired up to jump over a wall and run through a troop, but we need to understand something.
Right.
The day of his wrath is here.
Right.
It's not coming. It's not down the line somewhere. It's here. You don't believe me? Open up Revelation. You're going to hear about wars and rumors of wars. What do you call what's happening in Crimea and the Ukraine right now? That is not a Sunday morning picnic, friends. You're going to hear about children being disobedient to parents. This new generation, I'm only 35. I'm not that old. But this generation that's come up after my generation, you cannot tell them anything. And I know every generation before me has said that. But here's the thing. If you argue with the kids that are coming up now, they take it as you're being offensive, you're being intolerant, and you're wrong just because your opinion is different. Did you know that someone can turn me into DCFS simply for spanking my children? Yep. Discipline is now taboo because I am undermining their individuality. Did you know that there are advocates who are saying that you should let your child pick whatever they want to pick? I know. I'm stepping on toes. Don't worry. If I'm stepping on your toes, I've already crushed my own. You shouldn't put any restraints on your children. You should let them have full say in their upbringing. That goes against the word of God. Spare the rod and spoil the child. And that means exactly what you think it means. This is the age that Revelation talked about. Said that famines were going to come. Have you tried to buy a gallon of milk recently? How about a loaf of bread? Go pick up some eggs. I know what. Go pick up some meat. Tell me how much that cost you. And I'm not even talking about prime rib. I'm talking about, 70-30 hamburger. Go try and buy some food and tell me how much that cost you. You don't think that we're coming into a famine stage? And while we're over here just experiencing this, there are countries who have been experiencing it for a long time. It just took a minute to get here.
Right.
You don't think that we're in the end? There's going to be earthquakes and great disasters? Russia has already taken Chernobyl. For those of you who may have forgotten, Chernobyl was the nuclear plant in the Ukraine that had one of the worst nuclear accidents in history in 1986. Chernobyl is still radioactive to the point that just walking across the ground stirs up radioactive dust. When Russia, in its infinite wisdom, rolled all of its military equipment through Chernobyl, it stirred up a whole bunch of nuclear dust. Did you know that you can ingest nuclear dust? You can breathe it in. It can get on your skin. You don't think we're in a time of great disasters? We're here. It's now. We've had all kinds of fun. We've enjoyed the good times. We've let the good times roll. And now the bill has been brought to the table.
Right.
And we're all looking around going, I thought you were going to pay. Wait a minute. I thought you were going to take care of the bill. And we all want to push blame on somebody else. I love this game. It's a great game because it's never my fault, right? We can all push blame and say, well, if it wasn't for all those homosexuals, God wouldn't be bringing down his wrath right now. Well, yeah, we can pick on them. If it wasn't for all those abortions, God wouldn't be bringing his wrath right now. Sure, we can pick on them too. I just have one question. When are we going to start talking about if it wasn't for all those judgmental spirits, if it wasn't for all that gossiping, if it wasn't for all that infidelity in heterosexual marriages, man, if it wasn't for all that child abuse in church homes, if it wasn't for all the wrong doctrines that are preached, if it wasn't for, we're not supposed to talk about them, right? Because it's only one group that we're going to blame for what's happening now, right? I forgot. My Bible says that God is not a respecter of persons, and one sin will keep you out of heaven. One. Because God cannot dwell where sin is. So if you have one sin, God cannot dwell in you. It's stark, it's black and white, but that's reality. So while we're all pointing our fingers and saying, well, if we could just get rid of this sin, or if we could just get rid of that sin, it's all sin.
Right.
Several times in the New Testament, there are lists given of all those who cannot enter the kingdom of God. All those who are considered sinners. And there's things like being disobedient to parents, truce breakers, fornicators. There's a whole list, but we skip over that because we don't want to think that we might be the problem. How could I be the problem? I go to church. I'm a pastor. How can I be the problem? I'm not a murderer. I'm not a fornicator. I'm not a wine bibber. But do I stand up here holier than thou and judge people? Because if so, then I'm part of the problem. But we don't want to talk about that. And here we are, 2022. And the world is falling in around our ears. And we're all standing around with our thumbs in our pockets, not sure how we got here.
Right.
And I can tell you how we got here. We got here together. We all did it. There's none of us innocent. The word says we have all sinned. All is inclusive. It means everybody, even me. I know it's shocking. But we have all sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. We have all brought ourselves here. There's not one group more culpable than another group. We all did it together.
Right.
We closed our eyes to our problems and pointed our fingers at somebody else's problems. Oh, and as long as I'm better than so-and-so, then I've made it. No, we've all gotten ourselves here.
Amen.
We did it. And with every step, every sin that we said isn't really a sin, every time we watered down the Bible to fit our lives, every time we said, well, that's not really what God meant, Every time we said, well, God knows my heart and it will all be okay. Every time we made allowances for ourselves, we brought ourselves a little bit closer to this point. And now we've played with the matches and we've gotten burned. We kept slamming the door and somebody got their fingers caught in it. We ate too many cookies and now we have a stomach ache. It was all fun and games until somebody got hurt.
Right.
And before we sit back and say, well, I didn't think it was going to be like this, it was in the Word. From beginning to end, God warned us. If my people that are called by my name will humble themselves. Oh, but we don't want to talk about that. Humbling myself means I'm going to have to admit that I'm part of the problem. Humbling Tiffany Elaine Pittman White means that I'm going to have to get down on my knees and tell God I'm sorry because I'm part of the problem. I'm going to have to admit that I've done some things that I'm not proud of. I'm going to have to admit that I'm not perfect and I haven't earned my halo and wings yet, and I just don't want to do that. I have a reputation to uphold. I have my stature in the community. I don't want to appear as weak. So I'll just, we're not going to talk about that, God. You and I can deal with that later, but we don't have to talk about that in front of people. He said if we'd humble ourselves and call on him, he'd heal our land.
Amen.
It's been there the whole time. The prescription has been there the whole time. We just refuse to go to the pharmacy and fill it.
Right.
Because we know best. We know best. We just need more social programs. That'll take care of it. We just need to be more tolerant. We just need to be more understanding. We just need to give a little bit more space for grace. Baby, how much more space do you need? We are living in a time where everything is okay, except for the truth.
Right.
Everything is fine except for living for God. How much more space for grace do you need, babe? Because there isn't anymore. We've made it all okay. Do this, do that, don't do this, whatever you want. And then we sit back and we look and go, well, why is everything so messed up? I don't understand how we got here. We drove the car here. We brought ourselves here. We made things okay that never should have been okay.
Right.
And here we are. And I'm just not talking about like the big sins that everyone talks about. I'm not just talking about those, because it's easy to pick on those because they're so big and blatant and bold. I'm talking about we made talking bad against the ministry okay when the word says do not touch my anointed.
Right.
We made going to church optional when the word says do not forsake the gathering together of yourselves. We made gossip okay. We made lying okay. We made it all okay because those aren't real sins. Grandma, I'm not really playing with the door. I'm just opening it to see what the weather's like. And now I'm going to shut it. Well, I've forgotten what the weather's like, Grandma. I'm just going to look outside again. I'm aware of those tricks. I have 2 kids. I'm not jumping on the couch. I'm merely stepping onto it so I can be tall. I'm aware of that. I'm completely aware of that. My mother did it one day. She's like, I'm not giving them candy. I'm giving them a peppermint. It's for their throat. Like, Mom, that's candy. No. It's a peppermint. It's for their throat. It gets dry. See how we rationalize it? It's cute when I put it like that. But that's what we do. We rationalize it. We put a different light on it, put a different background around it. Now it's pretty. We're not going to call it sin. I don't know. This is just called being human. Everybody does it. It's okay. Everyone tells a little white lie. Everybody has a moment of indiscretion. Everybody does it. And as long as we put that lens on it, well, then it's just like a rite of passage, right? Then it's okay. Not doing those things makes you the unicorn now. Doing them, well, you're just part of the group. Oh, how I wish I wasn't part of the group.
Amen.
So here we are. Everything's torn up. Everything's a mess. And we still can't understand what we need to do to fix it. And that's what makes it so tragic. The verses that we read this morning, the more we read them, the sadder I got. I don't know if you heard me, but around Galatians, I had to take a big, heavy sigh because it was all so correctable. It was all so fixable. And yet, we won't do it. Everything that we read today was correctable.
Amen.
Up until Revelations, because that's just going to happen. But everything else was so correctable and it was so fixable. And yet, what we read, those individuals, those parables, refused to right the ship. I'm going to pick on my mother for a moment. Because I can. My mom was diagnosed with diabetes when I was somewhere between Leland and Hannah's age. And her and I have discussed this, so please don't think that I'm beating her up. But she was diagnosed with diabetes somewhere around in between Leland and Hannah's age when I was a kid. And for a little bit, she tried to do all the right things. It was diet soda and sugar-free candy, and she tried. She took her medicine. But at some point down the line, Mom began to think, well, does the doctor really know what he's thinking? Like, does he really know what's going on? I know my body. So, sugar-free was every once in a while. And Little Debbie's cakes came back into the house. And the Dr. Pepper and the Coke. And the medicine, well, here and there. What she didn't realize was that while she was having a good time, we were having a great time. Death by chocolate cake is amazing. Okay? Having like a fourth supper at 10 o'clock at night, that is my dream. Because when my mom would say, "Are you hungry?" she didn't mean here's some saltines and peanut butter. No. She would make me steak fajitas at like 10 o'clock at night with cheese and black beans. That's how we snacked. It was great. We were having a great time. We planned our days out by which restaurants we could hit up. But while we were having a great time, we were living it up. Two things were happening. One, I was silently becoming obese. And two, her diabetes was silently killing her. So in 2009, I weighed 252 pounds. And Mom was on her way to Memorial Hospital because she was in full-blown kidney failure. And we almost lost her in November of 2009. Thanks to neither one of us paying attention, my mother has lost most of her eyesight, her big toe on one of her feet, and her kidney function. She goes to dialysis 3 times a week. For her to be able to see something now, she has to have it like this and tilted, and that's with glasses on. She can't really walk straight anymore. She can't drive. She can't do any of the things she loved to do. I have to watch like a hawk every bite I put into my mouth because it is so easy for me to overeat and to gain weight. But man, we had a good time. It was so much fun. Until I had to step on a scale and until she ended up in the hospital. And then the price hit us. We didn't look at the price tag until it was time to settle up. Folks, I'm trying to get across to us the idea that we have got to right the ship. This isn't just for us as a country as a whole. This is for us as individuals. We don't have any more time. We don't have any more time. It used to be, well, I'll go to the next revival. I'll go to the next camp meeting. I'll go to the... There are no more. When was the last time you heard about a 3-week revival? When was the last time? Now, an exception for this summer, but before that, I hadn't really heard of tent meetings. Not in my lifetime. I haven't really heard of the great move of God that used to be. That time has come and gone. We are out of time. We are out of options. And unless you want to be stuck with the bill, I suggest you go and settle the count. Because the time is coming when you're going to have to settle up. How are we paying for this? Let's see here. You've lied. You've cheated. You've stolen. You're a murderer. You've basically done it all. That comes to, carry the 4 out of the 5, eternity in hell. How would you like to pay for this today? That's the cost. Your soul is the cost. So you either pay for it, or you come back to God and you let Him pay for it. Those are the only 2 options. You can't put it on your credit card. You can't write a check for it. You either pay with your soul or you let God cover it in His blood. But you got to make your choice now, because it'll be too late once the bill's handed to you. Once time is over, it's too late then. We have to make the choice now.
Amen.
I'd like to close with, there's a song I enjoy listening to. And it's called Fine Print. And the artist that does this song, he takes the position of the serpent in the garden. And he's like, look at this apple, isn't it great? And you don't need to worry about what God said. He's just trying to keep you out, keep you out of what's really good. And then the chorus says, you forgot to read the fine print. You make a contract with the devil, and we forget to read the fine print. That after all the fun is done, we're going to have to pay up. But if you're still breathing today, if your heart is still beating, if you can still hear my voice, it is not too late. You can lay it all down. You can turn away from it. You can say, no, I am not going to go down that road. I'm not going to end up like all those before me. You still have a moment to right the ship. But it's just a moment. It's just a moment. Don't put all of your eggs into the basket of, I'll do it later. I'll do it when I'm older. I'll do it when I have more time. I'll do it at a more convenient time. I'm sorry, King Agrippa. There is no more convenient time than right now. Please, 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 please don't play with the matches. Please don't slam that door. Please don't eat all that candy. I'm trying to tell you from experience, it is all fun and games until somebody gets hurt. I'm going to close. I'm done. Joanna, can you come in? You don't have to sing, if you could just play something for us, please. I think about that old song Sister Dell used to sing all the time. Oh, it used to drive me crazy because she'd sing it all the time. But I think she sang it all the time, especially at the end of a service, because that was her way of reminding each and every one of us that there is an eternity. And you're going to be somewhere in eternity. Where will you be a million years from now? Will you be happy? Will you be singing? All the ages roll throughout eternity. I ask this question: where will you be? Will you be a million years from now? Will you be happy? Will you be singing? All the ages roll throughout eternity. I ask this question: where will you be? While Joanna plays, we need to find somewhere. You want to pray at your pew, that's fine. You want to pray at this altar, it's on, it's open. You want to stand, sit, kneel, walk, I don't care. But you need to do whatever it's going to take to get you before the throne and work out your salvation with fear and trembling. Because just the moment you think, I'm saved enough, I'm good enough, I've done enough, my friend, that is the moment you need to be concerned, because you ain't made it yet. So we need to take this opportunity. God is here right now. If you were waiting for him to show up, baby, he's here. This is the time. This is the moment. If you think for even 1 nanosecond there is a shadow of a doubt that there is something lurking in your heart, this is the moment. I want every eye closed, because I don't want anybody looking around at somebody else thinking, oh yeah, they need to pray. Baby, you need to pray. I need to pray. We need to be ready. So in these next few moments, and don't just pray for a minute and then get up and think, oh, that's enough. I don't want to hold up service. You ain't holding up nothing. If we got to stay till 3 o'clock this afternoon for someone to pray through, I'm okay with that. But you need to take the time that you need to make sure that you've got it all together. Because the bill's coming to the table. Are you sure you can afford what's going to cost you? Let's all take some time and pray. Louis? No.
She said I can recall. She wore one of those desert head stockings in church.
Yeah, but tomorrow.
Not big.
Tomorrow morning.
No, all of us anointed, let everybody anoint that. The Lord, we'll pray over our hands.
It's got oil on it.
It's got oil on it, and we'll pray.
Can everybody come up and we're gonna pray over this real quick for Hannah? We're gonna pray over this prayer cloth. There's some things I don't understand, but I've come to the conclusion I don't have to understand for it to work.
Right.
I don't understand how my car works. I know when I put the key in it, it's supposed to turn on. So we're gonna pray over this, and God is gonna move.
Okay. Put it in your hands. Let him.
Doug, come here,
Doug.
please. Come here. Come here, Leland. I like redundancy.
But